Good day, student. I'm delighted and so happy to meet you this very pleasant day. I want to use this opportunity to welcome all of you to the Institute for Open Learning, IOL, the best institute on earth when you talk about distance education. Welcome. My name is Edo Triumph. I'm going to be your contact tutor for Computer Studies 1, DES DECOS 21 for the year 2022. I'm glad I have you as my beloved students. What are we here for today? What are we going to do today? Today is an examination-based content class. What does that mean? It means I'm here to guide you on how to approach your examination CAMS 2022. I want to congratulate you that you've passed your assignment, because for you to be qualified to write an examination, it means you already passed the assignment. Congratulations for the hard work. But as the saying goes, it is not over until it is over. What does that mean? You still have to work hard when it comes to the examination. So sit down and relax while I guide you through what and how you should get prepared for the examination. This presentation is for who? It's for students taking diploma in secondary education, Computer Studies 1. This presentation will guide you whether you take the April examination, the August examination, or the November examination. We do not have different presentation for different examinations. What happens is that we have one presentation that guides all the students for a particular course. So whether you are going to take August, you're going to take April, or the supplementary examination in Computer Studies 1, this presentation is for you. This examination preparation. Take note of one very basic fact. This presentation is not a scope. What do I mean? You don't expect that I'm here to give you questions that are going to come out in the examination. Do not expect that I'm going to tell you the topics that questions will come from during the examination. We do not give scope at IOL. You are expected to be competent in all the competencies as outlined in your expected learning outcome. So I'm not here to tell you that study this topic or study this theme and leave these ones. I'm here to guide you through everything. So it is not a scope. What that means is that do not call me at the end of the examination and say, Mr. Edo, but you never mentioned questions will come from this topic. Prepared for everything. As is said in the military training, train hard, fight easy. Prepare for everything, write easy. What will be the format of your examination question paper? When you get your question paper, how will it look like? What format does it carry? What is expected of you when you get a question? Remember, our examination is still online. We are still in the COVID period. You'll be required to answer all the questions that will be given to you. There will be no practical section during this Computer Studies 1. The examination covers the entire module, meaning there is no module that is exempted. The question will be, or they are already selected across all the units. What are some of the basic guides? So first of all, I'm going to divide this presentation into two segments. First of all, I'll give you some basic guides generic basic guide. Secondly, I will give you some technical guide, specifically in computer studies. This is not computer literacy, this is computer studies. So let's first of all look at the general guides. 1. Your assignment that I marked and I returned back to you, you have to review it. Why is this necessary? The format of your examination question and that of your assignment are the same. That is why if you are a distance learning education, one of the things that assignment does for you is to prepare you for the examination. The assignment prepares you for the examination. So your assignment format and your examination format are the same thing. So review your assignment question. Pay attention to the assignment feedback that I gave to you. While marking your assignment, I made some comments individually on your assignment script or assignment paper that what you have done here was not done well. This is how to do it. Or you've done well, but you can do better if provided you follow this procedure. So I made some suggestions, some recommendations when I mark your assignment. Can you go through all those recommendations and make sure you don't make such mistakes when it comes to the examination time? Besides the individual assignment comment that I gave back to you as a feedback, I also compiled the general what I call the feedback. I compile the general feedback. That is generally common mistake made by students and how to avoid them and my recommendations. So two feedback you get. One feedback is specifically for you. The other feedback is a general feedback that common mistake that students make. Go through this feedback. The one that is for you was stated on your assignment script. The general one was uploaded into your student portal. So you download it and go through it. The third point which you should pay attention to is, which will also help you, is download past examination question papers. It is often said that the terrain that you know is better than the terrain that you do not know. The area that you know very well is very difficult for you to get lost in your village. You cannot get lost in your village because you know how your village looks like. You know all the routes, you know all the roads in your village. Familiarity. What am I trying to say? If you download past examination question paper, the structure of the questions are the same thing every year. I'm not saying the questions are the same thing. I'm talking about the structure of the question is the same. So if you are already familiar with past examination question paper, you will not be taken by surprise when you see your 2020 question paper. So downloading the past question paper will be of great help. I want to emphasize on it over and again. And let me tell you something again. Questions are often repeated in a different format. This year I can ask you what about the advantages of using learning management system. Next year I can ask you about the disadvantages of learning management system. Your course outline has not changed. So you see that until the course outline or the module is reviewed, the way the questions are revolves around almost the same way. So it's necessary for you to download past examination question paper and try to see how the questions are answered. But I want to tell you something here. Do not download past question paper and email to me to answer and send to you. No. Don't do that. You are not helping yourself if you want to do that. So what should you do? It is you that should answer the question. Attempt the questions, the past exam papers that you download. Attempt the questions where you cannot cope, where you think that things are not easy for you. Then you contact me. Then I will guide you through. Something else that is very, very, very helpful is get familiar with your course outline and module. You know, at times we don't care about the syllabus. We don't care about the course outline. Get familiar with your course outline. When you know your course outline, then you know all the questions that are expected to come. Above all, as it is said in the Bible, when you have problem, Jesus Christ said, knock and the door shall be opened. Ask and you shall be helped. That is what the Bible says. So Mr. Edo is saying, when you are stuck, knock at my cell phone, I will answer. Knock at my email, I will reply you. That is what IUL pays me to do. So I'm not doing you a favor, I'm rendering the services that I'm paid for to do. Let us look at your computer studies 1 course outline. I'm not here to read the course outline for you. That would be a typical waste of time. You have it. So for me to come and read the course outline for you is a typical waste of time. But I want to tell you something here, that you should know this course outline. Look at how it is structured. Upon completion of this module, the student should be able to, upon completion of this module, the student should be able to do this, do this, do this. Let's just look at the first 3. You should be able to explain the implication and impact of the generic features of computer. You should be able to analyze. The third one, you should be able to describe. Can you see those examination ways? The first one, I'm expecting you to explain. The second one, I'm expecting you to analyze. The third one, you are expected to describe. These are examination verbs that you must know. So if a question says analyze, what does it mean to analyze? If a question says explain, what does it mean to explain? If a question says describe, what does it mean to describe? Look at the third one. Say describe the use of computer system to monitor and control process. There is no way I'm going to ask you to discuss the use of computer system to monitor and control process. No. If I'm to ask a question from this topic, I'm going to ask you to describe. Because what? Because that is what you are expected to do at the completion of this module. That is why I tell my student, my questions are with you already. But how come, Mr. Ido, that my questions are with you? My questions are with you because I will only pick questions from this specific exit learning outcome. So, here in 3, it says, upon completion of this module, the student should be able to describe the use of computer system to monitor and control system. So I'm going to ask you if you can describe that for me. I'm going to ask you if you can analyze the implication of computer and our commercial data processing. I'm going to ask you to explain the impact of generic features of computer. So the questions are there. So what I do advise my student is, before you go into the exam hall, pick this ELO. Go through there one by one. I will ask myself, can I explain the implications of the use of computer? Can I describe this? Go through there one by one. If I get into a specific one, and I know, look at number 4. Clarify the use of computer system to automate tasks and devices. To automate task. What does it mean to automate? I have no idea. It means that you are not yet good in that topic if you cannot explain it. If you don't know the meaning of automation of a task, then you are not yet good in that topic. When you automate a task, it means the computer will do it automatically without the human being manual intervention. Can you see I'm explaining it? It means I know it. So if you cannot explain any of these specific learning outcomes, go back now to the study guide and read it. Then you can be confident, yeah, come what may, I can answer any questions here. So I've spoken well, I've spoken quite a lot of things when it comes to the expected learning outcome. Good. So go through your course outline. Very important. You don't go to the church without the Bible. When the pastor says open to the book of Revelation, then there is nothing you are about to open. Go and check our Bible. course outline, the study guide. Let us talk about something else. When you pick your examination question paper, the first question is always about definition of computer terms. You will see a question that says, explain or define, depends, explain or define the following computer terms, such as expert system, data logging, simulation, modeling, sensor, server, RAM, CAD, and the rest. The question is again, when a question says explain, when a question says define, how do you go about it? If you look at your study guide, you will also see something like this, clue of words for examination. Go to your study guide and read what it means to state, what it means to explain, what it means to differentiate, outline, and define. Going back to those computer terms that you are expected to define, to explain, let me pay attention to one of them here. CAD, RAM. They are not words on their own. They are acronym, meaning each alphabet stands for a particular word. So the first thing you should do is, first of all, give the meaning of that acronym. CAD, Computer Aided Design. Give the meaning first. Computer Aided Design. Then you can start explaining it. These are application softwares that can be used to aid the computer user whenever he or she is designing, such as the engineers, the structural engineers, civil engineers, architects, and the rest. It is different from graphics design, okay? All right, so for you to answer this very first question, which always carries 2 marks per one, altogether I always give about 10 of them there, you have to read entire study guide because I pick them randomly. Okay, let us look at further questions that you might come across. Variety of different questions. Those one can be discussed, those one can be expatiated, analyzed, and so forth. I'm done with the general explanation of how to approach examination question paper. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to go through some technical explanation now, focusing on some selected topic. Take note, the selected topics that I'm going to discuss here, it does not mean and by no means saying these are the topics that I will examine you on. No. There are topics that I selected based on how students struggle with them when it comes to examination. So the criteria I use in selecting is students struggle with these topics a lot. That is why I selected them, just to use them as an example. So it does not mean that these are the topics that you will be examining on alone. If you read only this topic, my dear, no comments. Don't read only this one. Cover everything. Let us first of all look at control, monitoring and control systems. Monitoring and control system. What is this topic all about? What is going to be your focus? Can you remember? Let's go back a bit. Let's go back a bit. This is 3. Describe the use of computer system to monitor and control. That is what we are going to look at now. So, it is all about the use of computer system to monitor and control other systems. It's about the use of computer system to monitor and control other systems. What is it all about? There are independent systems created. There are independent machines that works on their own. Now we have a situation whereby computers can be used to control those systems and monitor those systems. In control and monitoring system, there are three stages. There is the input stage, the processing stage, and the output. After all, in computer science, there are only three stages: input, processing, and output. Input in computer science simply means the data that are going into the computer. Processing is what should the computer do with the data, the computer working on the data. Then output is the computer giving the result of what he has done. Now, in control and monitoring system, how does it work? Listen while I explain it. It's an automated system. So what I mean by automated system, that it has no human being intervention. The system monitors itself, controls itself. So in computer monitoring and control system, the first one is the input stage. At the input stage, we have what is called sensors. Sensors are devices that react to environmental changes. So sensors are able to detect data in the environment. Sensors, they are able to detect data in the environment. So when sensors detect data in the environment, they send the data to the computer. But before they send the data to the computer, there is a little bit of convention. They convert it. There's what we call the ADC and what we call the DAC. The ADC are analog. ADC means analog digital converter. ADC, analog digital converter. Because some of the data are in analog form. They are in analog form. However, the language of the computer is digital. So if you give data of analog to the digital device, it will not understand it because they are not speaking the same language. One is speaking digital, one is speaking analog. So when the data are detected, collected by the sensor, if the data now are in digital form, what happens? There is a device that we call the analog digital converter. So what it does is that it will convert the data from analog to digital so that the computer can understand. Now, after conversion from analog to digital, it is now sent to the processor. Now, what will the processor do? So when the data are passed on to the computer, otherwise known as the microprocessor, then the processor or the microprocessor will now analyze the data. You know, the data came in. It will not look at the data. Then it will recommend an action to be taken. The processor will recommend an action to be taken. How will it do that? It will do this based on the predefined instructions that are already in the computer. Let me give you a typical example. Okay, I will talk about that later. Now, the microprocessor will recommend. When the microprocessor recommends, then it will send out its recommendation to a device. In most of the time, we call it the actuator, which carries out the instruction. So, three areas. The data, the sensor captures the data. The analog digital converter will convert the data from analog to digital. Then the digital data now are sent to the microprocessor. The microprocessor will look at the data. Having looked at the data, the next thing the microprocessor will do is will recommend or give an instruction to be carried out. It will give an instruction to be carried out. Those instructions to be carried out, as I said, they are based on the predefined values on the computer. I'll give you some examples, don't worry. Then the recommendation, the instructions from the microprocessor will now be sent to the outputs. Most of the time we call it the actuator, which carries out the instruction. In all this process, all these stages, no human being intervention is there. It is done in an automated way. Let us look at some examples of sensors. We have sensors that can detect temperature changes. We call them temperature heat sensors. There are sensors that can detect the brightness of light. We call them light sensors. All right? I'm sure some of you are very familiar, even at home, when you walk close, those light sensors, what happens? It shows. When you walk far away from the door, the light goes off. How does the light know that a human being is there? The sensor was able to detect your movement without anybody there. The temperature sensor also. Some of us, the cars that we drive, you see that the fan in the car, in the radiator, is automated. When the car becomes so hot, then it blows. After some time, it stops blowing. In the olden days cars, the fan just continually blowing. But these days, they are controlled by a sensor. It only blows when the engine is getting too hot at a certain degree. How does it know? The sensor there is detecting the heat of the car. The sound sensor also detects how loud a sound be, humidity, how wet or dry, infrared sensor, load, proximity, and there are different types of sensors that we have. So you must know different types of sensors. This is just a picture showing you different types of sensors, and the diagram you see on the screen explains to you how it works. Let's take for an example. Let me go to one typical example. Let me quickly see. Okay, I'll come back to that. Let me go through you one or two things here first. If you look at my screen, you see the three stages: the input, the processing, and the output. First, you see the sensors. What the sensors are doing there, they are capturing the data. After capturing the data, what next do? They send the data to the computer. The computer will analyze the data, as I told you previously, and send instruction to another device, the actuators, that will carry out the instruction. What are the advantages of using control and monitoring devices rather than using a human being? Why is it good to use control and monitoring system? The first one is it is cheaper. The computer can work 24 hours to monitor and control system. So when you use control and monitoring system, you employ less people. For an organization, it is cheaper. Let me give you a typical example. You see those sliding doors that opens when you come to close to an organization at times, especially the banks. When you get very close to the doors open. Then when you go, we move away from the door closes. There is a sensor there that detects that somebody is coming close. Let me open. Imagine that control and monitoring system or that sensor is not there. You need to employ someone who is going to work to open the door and to close the door. So by labor contract, the person will not work 24 hours, 8 hours, then another person comes. You are going to pay the person salaries, leave bonus, compassionate leave, so many other benefits you will pay upon retirement, the severance pay, and so many other things. So for an employer of labor, it is cheaper to use control and monitoring system. They are more accurate at times than human beings. Another thing is that they are safer. You see, there are some work that are very complicated let me not say complicated, there are some tasks that are very risky to the human being, especially chemical plants. Do you know that in chemical plants or where you have radioactivity sites, Any mistake of pressing the wrong button of a chemical plant can explode and kill everybody. So if you work in an area where you have so many radioactive sites or very cold area, they are not too okay for a human being. So it is safer to use control and monitoring system to do the work. Then in terms of speed, they are faster. So these are some of the advantages that it has. Let us look at this example now. Here is a man. Here is a sensor. Here is a computer. Here is what is going to happen. So what happens? This man is getting close to that sensor. This is an infrared sensor to detect movement. When the infrared sensor detects the movement of the man or somebody getting close, you see those infrared sensors. You see those organizations that has they use. Let me use the name G4S. They say come and put alarm in my workplace. You see that they put little those sensors around. Then when you knock off or when you are leaving your home, you activate your alarm. Then those sensors, they are active, blinking like this with the green light. So when they detect a movement like this man now, his movement is detected immediately by the sensor. But because the data detected is in analog form, this device that you see is called the analog digital converter. It converts the data from analog. This one that looks like the wave, those are the data in analog. This one that looks like the wave. But this one cannot be sent to the computer. It cannot be processed by the computer, this one. The computer can only process it if it is in digital forms, which is zeros and one. So what this device does is that after collecting the data that is collected by the sensor, the analog digital converter will convert the data now to digital, then send it to the computer. The computer now will process it and give an instruction to the output device that should act. In some cases, the output device can be a sound. Human being movement is detected, make a sound. Wing, wing, wing. A human being movement is detected, beam the lights. So it depends on how the program is. So this is how control and monitoring system work. So instead of me putting a human being there as a security who tells me, hey, there is someone here, the alarm will tell me. 3 stages. Very easy for you to explain if asking the examination. Also, burglary alarm. The procedure is the same thing. The procedure is the same thing. Okay? So, in this previous example, if you look at the next one, what is the input here? The input is the infrared detects the movement. The process in is there. The computer has made a decision that the alarm should sound. That is the decision of the computer. Then what is happening? The output, the alarm sound, as you can see. So on my presentation, I have quite a lot of them, and I'm not going to go through all of them. They just go through them at your own time. You have the central heating, monitoring, and control system. Let me explain a little bit of this. I think this is quite a bit necessary to bring out a point here. You see, when the computer program was written for this central heating system, there's what we call a predefined value. A predefined value. Predefined value, there you have the maximum, you have the minimum, you have the normal. So let's take for example, if I have temperature, for example, I have told my computer program that any temperature less than 25 is normal. Don't do anything. Fine. I can tell my computer that any temperature that is more than 25 is abnormal. Do this. So when the sensor detects your heat, when the sensor detects your heat, it reads the value. Maybe the value read is 25. it will send the 25 to the computer. The computer will compare the value that is sent to it. Remember what was sent to the computer? 25. The computer will now check its predefined value. If it is 25, what happened? It's normal. Do not do anything. Then the computer don't give any instruction to the output because it is normal. Now it read 45. It send it to the computer. 45, too high. Activate the fan. So the computer will now send a message to the output. Activate the fan. The actuator will now activate the fan. The fan will start blowing on itself. When the temperature goes lower, the computer will give you another instruction to the fan. Stop blowing. Can you see how it works? Just 3 stages. So don't be confused, students. Irrespective of how the question is asked. Only 3 things I want to see. What is detecting? You mention the name of the sensor that is detecting. Tell me later that this data is converted from analog to digital. The next thing you should tell me is that computer look at the data and make a decision. Tell me also what is going to happen. 3 stages. Opuo. Also in computer to control a greenhouse. Also go through all these things. Let us look at our next technical discussion. Social implication of use of computer use. The social implication. How does computer affect us socially? You see, one problem here that students make is they don't know the difference between social implication and economic implication. My social problem is different from my economic problem. Do you know that? And might be economically fine, but not socially fine. Have you heard about that? So we are looking at social implication. It's quite different from economic implication. Although they can be interwoven at times, agreed. But let's look at the social implication of the use of computer. When people use computer, what social implication does it give to them at times? So you can talk about things like de-skilling, electronic scabbing, and so forth and so on. And one social implication that it gives to people today, do you know that the use of computers and electronic devices at times keeps families apart? It's a social implication. Family don't interact socially now. Family members can now become strange people. You come from your work straight to the bedroom, your phone. Your wife comes from the work straight to the bedroom, her phone. The children in their bedroom with their phone. We're in the same house, but we don't talk to each other. We are just with our cell phones. So, what implication is it giving to us? We don't interact socially again, physically. So everybody is just on their own. Compared to those days when we come back from work, you sit in the sitting room to watch the TV together. Yeah, you can ask, how was work today? How was everything? How was school? In those days when we were younger, we come in the evenings, we play together as children. But these days, we only talk online. Can you think about that as a social implication? How people socialize has changed from the way it used to be, socialization. Okay? Also look at the economic implication of the use of computer. Economically, some jobs have been lost. Some jobs have been created. It's an economic implication. Another economic implication is that the quality of products are now better because of computer usage. And the prices can also go down because of computer. You know, in production, in economics, in business study, your running costs will be reduced when you use computer. For example, you employ less people, so your running costs will be reduced. And in business, when your running cost or your production cost is reduced, definitely the price will also be reduced. It's an economic advantage. Increased productivity also. Where I can produce just 5, the computer can produce 100. All right? Another problem you can also talk about, if I ask you, individual privacy can become a problem. People going into your privacy. Is that economic implication or social implication? It is a social implication. When people's privacy can be intruded upon easily. So I want you to look at that topic critically And what am I trying to say? I want you to look at the implication of computer usage socially, as well as the implication of computer usage economically. And when you look at it, look at both advantages and disadvantages. Are you fine? Be fine. I know it's not easy to be a graduate in computer science, but as I always tell you, train hard, fight easy. All right? So don't worry. Relax your mind and just follow my instruction. You will pass. Let us look at some other areas that might be of help to you. A robot. I'm not talking about a robot like there. What is a robot? A robot is a machine that is designed to execute one or more tasks automatically. Underline that word, automatically. With speed and precision, with speed and accuracy. It is a movable mechanical device that responds under the control of a computer program. So robots, they carry out tasks automatically based on the way they are programmed. If you look at some of this picture here, can you see a robot trying to assemble a car? Now the question is, what are the components of a robot? It's just like the control and monitoring system. You have the input, you have the processing, then you have the output. Those are the main components of a robot. So the input, just like the control and monitoring system, there it detects, sensors detect changes in the environment, it sends it to the computer gives instruction, then the actuator carry out the work. The actuator carry out the work. Let's look at a sample question here. Robots are being introduced into the factory which makes engine. Describe any 3 ways this could affect workers. Can you remember in my expected learning outcome what was stated there? It was stated that at the end of this lesson, the students should be able to describe. Can you see in my question, what am I saying? Describe. Can you see the relationship now? Describe any 3 ways this could affect the workers. So if I start using robots, how will these affect the workers? One of the many advantages to management is the reduction in overall costs. Give 2 reasons why using robots could reduce costs. Let us look at question A and question B critically. Question A is referring to how it will affect the workers. Question B is referring to how this will affect management. So what affects the workers might be different from what affects the management, might be different from what affects the owner of the business. Pay attention carefully. For a worker, he or she can be de-skilled. Your work might not be needed. The robot can assemble the car. You can be de-skilled. You can become redundant. You can lose your job. You need to go for retraining and so many other ways where it can affect the workers. Now, if you look at question B, you are expected to mention or give reason to support the statement that robots actually reduce cost. But how does it reduce cost? How does it reduce costs? So it is not just about knowing the question. It is all about how do you answer the question. Who is the question referring to? Is it referring to the worker? Is it referring to the organization? Is it referring to the management? Is it referring to the society? Those are areas that you should pay attention to. GPS, the Global Positioning System, how is it done? Most time you are asked, describe how the GPS calculates the exact position of a car. When you use GPS to drive, how does it calculate? What are the steps? I've enumerated the steps here. Please read them. Advantages of online banking. And this is a quite simple instruction. I will leave it for you to read. Advantages of online banking. Okay. Fact findings, data collection methods. If you are going to collect data, what are the methods that can be used to collect data? Can you talk about questionnaires? Can you talk about interview, observation, case study, document, and records? It's not just about talking about them. Can you describe how each of these methods can be used? What are the advantages of using this method and disadvantages? For example, if you talk about interview, what are the advantages of using interview method? What are the disadvantages of using interview method? Let us look at these very and last one. Logic gates. My sisters and brothers, I don't call you my student, I call you my sisters and brothers. All right? There is something that is inevitable. If you go to a Catholic church, you must take Holy Communion. The Holy Communion is there. You see, when you get my question paper on computer studies, logic gates, it is there. It's just like that Holy Communion in the Catholic Church on Sunday. Logic gate is always there. How do you go about the gates? You must know how to draw the gates and know the truth table. Fortunately, we are focused on just about 5 or 4 gates based on your course outline. The AND gate, the OR gate, the NOR, and the NOT gate. If you look at these very gates, the AND gates, you have to know the truth table. Very easy. Let me just give you a clue. The truth table of the AND gate, it is only when you have 1, 1 as the input that the output can be 1. Only when it is 1, 1. A and B. You know we're talking about the AND gate. A and B must be 1, 1. That is where you can have 1. Otherwise, the rest will be 0. A and B must be 1. If you talk about the OR, A or B can be 1. A or B. So A can be 1, B can be 0. A can be 0, B can be 1. A or B. As long as A or B is 1, then your output will be 1. Can you look at my truth table for the OR gate? A or B. It doesn't matter whether it's A that is 1 or it's B that is 1. As long as one of them is 1, I'm fine. All right. The NOT gate is the most easiest one. The NOT gate is just the opposite. Meaning, if my input is A, if my input is 0, my output will be 1. If my input is 1, my output will be 0. That one is so simple. So simple as eating kapana. You say, Mr. Eddie, why is kapana easy? Try it this afternoon. You will see it is easy. The NAND gate, the NAND gate is the opposite of the AND gate. So if you understand the AND gate, you understand the NAND gate. So go through the gates. I've given you some sample question on logic. How do you answer question on logic? I wish I have more time. My studio engineer have already signified me I have just 2 or 3 minutes more. I wish I have more time. I really wanted to explain to you how to solve question on logic gates. For example, a system used 3 switches, A, B, C. A combination of switches determines whether an alarm X will sound. Let's look at that, the condition here. If switch A or switch B are on position, and if switch C is on the off position, then the alarm can sound. Let's look at our statement. First of all, put it in front of your logic statement here. Look at it. If switch A or switch B, look at it where I say it. Can you see where I'm saying put it here? If switch A or B are on On is 1. In computer, on is 1. On can also be yes. So that is why I have A is equals to 1 or B is equals to 1. And if you continue reading it, you say, if switch A or B are in the on position and, can you see the end here? That is why I brought the end here. Switch C is off. Whenever you see switch A is off, switch C is off, switch P is off. In our logic gate writing, we just say switch C is not 1, meaning switch C is 0. Then the alarm can sound. Just go through the way I formulated it. Fortunately, I don't have much time again to explain further and see how it is done. I'm going to stop my class here, go through the rest of the presentation about monitoring and control system and network topology. Go through your different topologies and the diagram algorithm, very important. Your flow chart, very important also. How to answer flow chart question. You need more help? Yes, I am paid by Trustco to offer you that help by Institute of Open Learning. My number is on the screen. My email is on the screen. Please contact me. I will surely help you. I wish you all the best in your forthcoming examination, be it April, August, or November, until that day when I see you in the black ground and say, praise the Lord, you have succeeded in graduating. Thank you.